What if I told you that the poorest man in the village was actually richer than the wealthiest merchant? Pause for a moment and think about that. And what if the real secret to wealth wasn't money at all, but gratitude? Not gold, not property, not power, but the simple ability to appreciate what you already have. This is the story of Peter, a poor old man who owned almost nothing, yet somehow had everything. In a small village surrounded by rolling hills and whispering forests, there lived an old man named Peter. Peter was poor. His house was small. His clothes were worn. His meals were simple. But Peter had something rare. Every morning, before the sun fully rose, he would step outside his tiny wooden house, stretch his arms toward the sky, and say softly, "Thank you. Thank you for another day. Thank you for the air in my lungs. Thank you for the bread on my table. Thank you for the strength to walk." The villagers often laughed at him. "What are you thanking life for?" they would whisper. "You have nothing." Peter would only smile, because he knew something they didn't. Gratitude is not about having everything, it is about seeing everything you already have. One evening, as the golden sun dipped behind the trees, Peter heard a faint sound from the forest nearby. It was not the usual rustle of leaves, it was a groan. Slowly, carefully, Peter walked toward the sound. The forest was thick and quiet. After a few steps, he saw a man lying on the ground. The man's clothes were expensive. His boots were polished, but his face was pale, exhausted, and frightened. He had fainted. Peter quickly knelt beside him. He poured a little water from his wooden flask onto the man's face. After a few moments, the stranger opened his eyes. "Where am I?" the man whispered. "You are safe," Peter replied gently. "You are near my home." The stranger tried to sit up but was too weak. "My name is John," he said. "I am a merchant. I lost my way in the forest. I've been walking for hours, maybe days." Peter helped him up slowly. "Come," he said. "My home is small, but it is warm." Inside Peter's tiny house, there was only one bed, a small table, and a wooden chair. A candle flickered softly, filling the room with a calm glow. Peter gave John his only bowl of soup and a piece of bread. John hesitated. "This is all you have," he said. Peter smiled. "Yes, and tonight it is enough." John ate in silence. He had traveled across cities. He owned warehouses full of goods. He had gold, property, servants, yet he had never eaten such a simple meal with such peace. After finishing, John looked around. "You live like this every day?" he asked. "Yes," Peter replied calmly. "And you are happy?" Peter chuckled softly. "My friend, happiness is not a place you arrive at when you own more. It is a decision you make with what you already have." John stared at him. He thought about his life. He remembered the sleepless nights, the endless counting of profits, the fear of losing money, the pressure to earn more than last year. He had everything, yet he had no peace. "Don't you ever wish for more?" John asked. Peter looked at the small candle burning on the table. "I once wished for a bigger house," he admitted. "I once wished for more land. But then I realized something." "What?" John leaned forward. "When I focus on what I lack, I feel poor. When I focus on what I have, I feel rich." Silence filled the room. The candle flame danced gently, as if agreeing. Peter continued, "Gratitude changes the mind, and when the mind changes, life changes." John felt something shift inside him. No one had ever spoken to him like this. No one had ever spoken to him like this way. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the small window. Peter woke up early as usual. He stepped outside, stretched his arms toward the sky, and said, "Thank you." John watched from the doorway. For the first time in years, he noticed the beauty of a sunrise. The air was cool. Birds were singing. The world felt alive. And suddenly John realized something painful. He had been so busy chasing wealth that he had forgotten to live. He had forgotten to appreciate. He had forgotten to be grateful. Before leaving, John turned to Peter. "You saved my life," he said sincerely. Peter shook his head. "No, you found your way." John paused. Tell me, how do I start? Peter smiled gently. Every morning, before you count your coins, count your blessings. John nodded. And at night? Before you sleep, Peter replied. Remember 3 things you are thankful for, no matter how small. John felt lighter, not because he gained something, but because he understood something. John returned to his city. His warehouses were still there. His business still ran. His wealth had not disappeared. But something inside him had changed. The next morning, before opening his books of accounts, he paused. He looked out the window, and he whispered, "Thank you." At first it felt strange, but he continued. He thanked life for his health, for the workers who supported him, for the opportunities he once took for granted. Days passed, then weeks. Slowly, his stress decreased. His anger softened. He became kinder to his employees. He stopped chasing endless growth and started building meaningful relationships. And something unexpected happened. His business improved, not because he worked harder, but because he worked calmer. Gratitude did not make him passive, it made him powerful, because a peaceful mind makes better decisions. Years later, John returned to the village. He found Peter sitting outside his small house watching the sunset. John walked toward him and bowed respectfully. "You were right," he said. Peter smiled. "I know." John laughed. "I have more than ever now, but for the first time I feel rich." Peter nodded. "Then you understand." John looked around the humble home. "Do you still want a bigger house?" he asked playfully. Peter gazed at the sky, glowing orange and gold. "I already live under the biggest roof," he said softly. The sky. Both men sat quietly. 2 different lives, 2 different journeys, 1 shared truth. Gratitude is not a reaction to wealth. Wealth is often a reaction to gratitude. So, if you feel lost, if you feel tired, if you feel like life is unfair, pause, look around, find one thing, just one, and say, "Thank you," because sometimes the richest life begins the moment you stop asking for more and start appreciating what is already yours.